Hey gang, David Henry from Inspired Tennis. I want to shoot a quick video tonight to talk about stringing of crosses from top to bottom. Okay, so I did a video earlier this week about some tips on faster cross weaving, and in that video I mentioned that I always string my crosses top to bottom. Okay, and I got a couple of questions from people about why do I always do that. In fact, one guy had asked me a question on YouTube comment, and so I told him last night that it was a little bit too complicated to cover in a comment, so that I would do a video about it. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here tonight, is talk about why I always string my crosses from top to bottom. Okay, and the reason is, well, let me first say that I am not any type of engineer, don't have any sort of structural engineering background. Okay, I tend to base my decisions more on just simple logic and intuition, and basically what just makes sense to me. And so stringing crosses top to bottom is kind of a good practice, or a best practice in the stringing community. And the reason that it's been explained to me is because when if you string your crosses top to bottom, when you're getting close to finishing off your crosses, you've got all your mains done and most of your crosses, I mean, there's a lot of stress and pressure on the frame from all the tension that's already in place for the strings you've already done, and it's putting a lot of pressure down here on the frame. But because it's down here at the throat area of the frame, you've got a lot more support. Okay, you've got the whole throat area kind of supporting this hoop. So you know, the pressure and stress and tension that it's putting on there, it's being supported by the other part of the frame. Whereas up here on the hoop portion of the frame, there's obviously not a throat, and there's no other parts of the racket supporting it. It's just this hoop all by itself. And so if you string your crosses bottom to the top, that can put a lot of pressure up here on the hoop, and you may risk breaking the frame or warping it. Okay, and so that's kind of the reason that I've always understood ever since I first started stringing as to why you never want to do bottom to top crosses. Okay, now you know, I've got my my United States Stringers Association Stringers Digest that I always use, and in here it's got patterns for almost every racket in existence. And the USRSA is great about abiding by what the manufacturer of the frame says for the pattern. Okay, and there are some manufacturers out there. Head, for example, comes to mind. A lot of the patterns for the head rackets, the mains end at the throat, down here at the bottom of the throat. So Head doesn't want people then starting at the throat and stringing the crosses to the top because of that, probably that pressure and stress on the hoop. So Head, for a lot of their frames where the mains end down here at the throat, they recommend only a two-piece pattern. So you string all the mains with one piece of string and tie them off down here at the throat, and then you start your crosses with the second piece of string up here at the top, and you string your crosses top to bottom. Okay, Wilson, on the other hand, a lot of their frames, and I think even some Babolat ones, a lot of their frames, the mains end down here at the throat, and they say it's okay to do one piece, to do them top or bottom to top. Okay, but even on Wilson and Babolat frames, or any other frame for that matter, where the mains end at the throat, I never do bottom to top crosses. I always do top to bottom. Okay, and so really when you're dealing with different frame patterns, I mean, you kind of have three options. Okay, you can do a one-piece traditional pattern. That's what I actually use on this racket. Okay, so I string half the mains and tie them off, and then the other half of the mains with the long side, basically I do half the mains, and then I do all my crosses. But the reason this is kind of just a one-piece traditional pattern is because the mains on this racket end at the top. So I'm already up here, so I tie one off at the top on my short side, and then on my long side, my string, I'm already up here at the top, so I just start my crosses and work down. Really simple, nothing to worry about. But then, when you've got a pattern where the mains end at the throat, then you've got to decide, if assuming you don't want to do bottom to top crosses, which I never do, then you've got two options of what you can do. You can do a two-piece pattern. So again, you have two pieces of string, you do all your mains with one piece and tie them off, then you start your crosses with the second piece of string at the top, string them top down, and then tie off your end of your crosses down here at the bottom. Okay, so that's one option, is to do it two-piece. Another option is to do what's called an around the world pattern, or a lot of times you'll see that referred to as an ATW pattern. And there's several different versions of an around the world pattern. It's kind of where stringers can kind of get creative with an around the world pattern. But basically the whole premise of it is to you string your mains, and then you make sure that your mains are at the top. So maybe like in one pattern that I use called the Dire Desire Around the World pattern, I string all my mains, but I leave off the last main on each side. So that means that since I've left off the last main, that means that I'm up here at the top with my string. So I can do a cross with one, tie it off, and then I've got the other piece of the main here to do my crosses top to bottom. And then basically, then you're kind of left with those last two mains that you got to finish. So basically that's where the name of the pattern comes in. So I kind of do my last cross, and then basically I have to go around the world. So I have to string the last main, string a cross up here, and string the last main on this side. Okay, so I'm not going to get into an around the world pattern, all the little intricacies of it in this video. On my Learn to String DVD course, I cover the Dire Desire Around the World pattern in great detail, where I've got the camera mounted above the stringing machine here, and I show every step of the way. Then there's also some other good videos out there on YouTube that'll show you around the world patterns. Ulittle's got a bunch of videos, Yullitle. You can look up his channel. He's got a lot of great videos as well on that. So anyway, that's the reason why, first of all, why I do top to bottom crosses always, and then kind of gave you a couple of ways of how you can do that by two-piece pattern or an around the world pattern. So, gang, I hope that it does it justice and answers the questions and explains things so that you have a good understanding of that. If not, feel free to shoot me a comment, shoot me an email, get in touch with me some way, and I'll see if I can answer some things in more detail. Okay, so anyway, that is all I have for tonight. Thanks for checking in.